Today, we're going to be building an n8n workflow that checks and books appointments for your AI agent. I'll be going through each step and what they mean, so make sure you follow along. All right, so first thing you're going to want to do is create a new blank sheet so we can get started on this workflow. First node we're adding, which is the trigger node, is going to be the webhook. So right here, all you type in is webhook and webhook right here. What we'll be doing for the HTTP method is post, as we are posting information to n8n. Essentially, we're taking information from that AI agent, the retail AI, and we're giving it to n8n. So we're posting that information. All right, next thing we're going to want to do is change this respond to using respond to webhook node. The reason we're doing that is because at the end of this workflow, we're going to be using respond to webhook node so we can give that information back to retail AI, essentially our AI agent. All right, next thing we're going to have to do is get some data for output so we can export this data down the workflow so we have that as a reference point. There's two ways of doing this. Either you can have your AI agent send the data to n8n by just hitting the listen for test event, in which it's going to pull in events from that webhook so we get that info/data. The other option is just copy and pasting old data from previous executions just so we can have this as an example. So that's what I'm going to be doing for this workflow. All right, next thing we'll be adding is a code node. And the reason why I'm adding a code node is because I want to split the date and time. So as you can see here for the appointment date, the date and the time are in the same row. And the reason why I don't want that, as you can see here with my Airtable base, is my date and my time are in two different rows. So when the Airtable node is searching for this appointment, it's going to be looking for the date and time in a single row, which just isn't going to happen. So that's why we want to split the date and time up. So the easiest way to go about this with using a code node in n8n is simply just using ChatGPT or Claude. I recommend Claude. I've been using it, and honestly, one of my favorites. I even bought a subscription for it. All you gotta tell it is just tell it what you're working with. Tell it you're working with n8n. You need JSON, and just tell it that you want the date and the time split up. And then once you put that into Claude, it should give you something like this, where it's just kind of a breakdown of what's going on, and it's also the JSON itself. And then all we're going to do is just hit execute step. When we do that, it's going to give us the original time, but it's going to give us the new date, and it's going to give us the new time split up into two different rows. All right, next thing we want to add is a Airtables node, and it's going to be search records. So when you get this down on your workflow, just click on this, and then right here, you're going to want to create your own credential, or Airtables will not work. So what you're going to do is hit create new credential, and it's going to ask you to put in an access token. Easiest way to get this access token is just searching up Airtable, making an account. All right, and then once you've signed in, you want to go to your account, top right, and hit account right here. And then we'll just go down to API where it says API keys will be depreciated. And then we'll go down to the right to Developer Hub, and it'll say create token. So click that, and this is what will bring you to the personal access tokens where you can create a token to the right. Just put your name, what you want it to do, like what it has access to. I recommend just putting everything. So once you do that, you'll just hit create token and you'll be all set. And then once you get your code to your access token, all you have to do is just put it into here, copy and paste, and you'll be all set. And then once you get that access token all figured out with Airtable, the next step is to create a table. All right, so what we got here is my untitled base. And what we got for the different rows here is name, data, time, status, email. I don't need status, so I'm going to delete it. But all we need is just the name, data, time, and email. And now once you do that, you're going to want to go down to the base where it says from list, and you're going to want to select your base right here. Once you get your base that you're using, just go down to table, from list, and choose the table, which is always going to be usually table 1. Once you do that, it's going to want it to filter by formula. So what this means is we need one of these variables to the left that we just got out of the coding JavaScript. And it also needs a code for Airtable so it knows what it's doing. So all it is just appointment time equals. So this is what Airtable follows. So Airtable knows it's searching for appointment time. And then equals, want to change this to an expression. Equals is the variable from the left here. So we're going to want to go down to time and just drag that in here. So appointment time equals variable time. For our example, 2:30. Then right here, the return all, just leave that on. All right, and then I'm just gonna put in some dummy info here. So just 2:30, got the name, let's do Edgar, date, let's say it's the 30th, and email, edgar@gmail.com. So once we do that, we hit execute step. Oh, not giving us the Airtable we were looking for. Let's see what's going on there. All right, figured out the problem. I put appointment time in my spreadsheet. It's just time. So I have to change that to time, and I also have to put these abbreviations here at the start and the end of the variable. So now it brings out the output here, which is the appointment that we just made, Edgar at 2:30 p.m. And essentially what that means is that appointment is taken as it's searching for the variable 2:30 for the time, and it's coming back with something because there is a time that is taken at 2:30, like it is in the table. So essentially what we have to do now is create an if node. What this does is it splits up the taken appointments and the available appointments. So we'll do if appointment time right here. If appointment time exists, then it's going to bring it out as true. So what we're going to want to do now is use the respond to webhook right there. Let's go to text and essentially just say appointment taken. So now this text is going to go to the call agent on Retail AI and essentially just tell it that appointment's taken, it's not available, so the AI agent can relay that info to the customer. And then for that branch, we're done. So we just put it up there. All right, and now for the false branch, that's essentially saying that the appointment is available and we can book it. So next step we're going to want to do is book that appointment, put it into that Airtable time. So what we're going to do is grab a Airtable node. So right here, have that access token, that credential. Resource is going to be record. Operation is going to be creating a new record in a table. Once again, we're going to want to choose our base, and then we're going to want to choose the table that it's in. So table 1. And what it's doing here is it's giving us the fields that are in our Airtable already. So right here, you see the name, data, time, email. It's giving us name, data, time, email. So all we got to do is just go to our code in JavaScript here, drag in the date to the date, drag in the time to the time, and then we'll go down to the webhook all the way at the bottom, grab that full name, and then we'll also grab that email right here. And the reason why it's gray right here is just because it wants us to execute the previous nodes, and we can't as it's going up to the booked appointment. So all we got to do is just take this out, delete it. All right, so once we got the time and the info removed from that Airtable sheet, first thing you're going to want to do is run the search records node for Airtable. It's going to run it as nothing, so it couldn't find anything. Make sure it is on always output data. And then let's go down to the if node. Let's run the if node, and let's go down to false. Because it's saying if time exists, it's red because this doesn't exist, it's undefined. So it goes down to the false branch. And now let's click on the create a record right here, and we'll see that this is all green because all this info is being relayed. So all we got to do is hit execute step, and it gives us there. So now we booked the appointment for 2:30, Edward Edgar 9/28/2025. Last step here is just adding a respond to webhook, just so we can let that agent know that it did come back successful and that we did book that appointment. So right here, just appointment booked, and boom, just like that. The whole workflow is built out here. Pretty simple. Let's just go through it one more time here. The AI agent is going to call this webhook via the webhook here. It's going to go through the code node. The code node is going to split up that date and time into 2 different fields. We're going to search Airtable just to make sure that appointment hasn't already been booked. Then it's going to go through the if node. If it has been booked already, it's going to go up to the top saying the appointment has been taken. If it wasn't booked already, it's going to go down to the Airtable record here, and it's going to create that record. So it's going to create that appointment, and then it's going to respond back to the AI agent, letting it know that appointment's been booked. All right, that'll do it for this video. If you want me to go through my other workflows I made to make this AI agent fully independent, just subscribe and let me know.